Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Deep in the heart of California's San Diego County, where the Oriflam Mountains rise like ancient sentinels against the sky, there's a story that's been whispered around campfires for over a century. It's a tale that begins, as so many Western legends do, with a chance encounter during a drought-stricken summer in 1914. But unlike many tales of lost mines and hidden treasures, this one has something that sets it apart. A once-living witness who saw the gold with his own eyes, held it in his hands, and spent the rest of his life trying to find it again. To understand this story, we first need to understand the land where it took place. The Oriflam Mountains aren't just another range in California's vast wilderness. They're a place of mystery, their humpbacked ridges rising from the earth like the spine of some ancient beast. Native Americans have long regarded these peaks with a mixture of reverence and fear. Local tribes speak of them in whispers, describing them as gaunt and sinister sentinels standing watch over long-buried secrets. But it's not just their imposing presence that sets these mountains apart. For generations, witnesses have reported strange phenomena in these hills, unexplained lights that dance across the ridges at night, weaving between the peaks before vanishing into the darkness. Some say these are the spirits of Native Americans slaughtered by Spanish conquistadors, forever guarding their ancestral treasures. Others claim they're natural phenomena, like St. Elmo's fire. A few insist there's something else entirely, something that defies explanation. But everyone agrees on one thing: the Oriflam Mountains are different. The summer of 1914 was particularly brutal in Southern California. The sun had baked the land into submission, turning once verdant pastures into dusty wasteland. In Valley Center, ranchers watched helplessly as their cattle grew thinner by the day. Among these worried ranchers was a man known as Chatty Helm, whose dairy herd was slowly starving. Helm knew he had only one choice: move his cattle to the greener pastures of Imperial Valley, a journey that would take them through some of the most treacherous terrain in Southern California. For this arduous drive, Helm hired two men who couldn't have been more different. The first was Harry Yarnell, a young and eager prospector who had already spent countless hours searching the hills for that one big strike that would make him rich. Yarnell was known throughout the region as a serious prospector, not some greenhorn chasing wild stories, but a man who understood the science and geology of gold deposits. The second man was Julian Cabrias, a quiet mission Indian whose deep knowledge of the back country would prove invaluable for the cattle drive. Cabrias was different from other Native Americans Yarnell had met during his prospecting days. He carried himself with a quiet dignity and spoke perfect English, yet seemed to maintain a connection to the old ways that fascinated the young prospector. The cattle drive began like any other, with the herd moving slowly through the parched landscape. Their first night's camp was made at what is now Lake Henshaw, though back then it was just a spring near a peculiar place called Monkey Hill. The hill had earned its name years earlier when a circus wagon overturned there, releasing its exotic cargo into the California wilderness. It was the kind of place where stories began, and that night, around the campfire, another story would start to unfold. As the flames cast dancing shadows on the faces of the men, Yarnell and Cabrias began to talk. Now, any experienced prospector knows that campfire tales about gold are as common as sand in the desert. The hills of California were full of such stories, tales of lost mines, hidden treasures and fortunes just waiting to be discovered. Most prospectors had learned to listen to such tales with amusement rather than serious interest. But there was something different about the way Cabrias spoke. He didn't boast or embellish his tales with fantastic details. Instead, he matter-of-factly described gold deposits throughout the region, in the Santa Rosas beyond the Montezuma claims, in the Santa Isabel Hills. He spoke of these places not as legends or mysteries, but as simple facts, places he had seen with his own eyes during his travels through the back country. It was on the third night in Earthquake Valley that everything changed. The cattle were unusually restless that evening, moving nervously under a star-filled sky. Even the most experienced cowboys in the group noticed something was different. The animals seemed to sense something in the air, something that made them uneasy. Chatty Helm sent Cabrias out to settle them down, knowing the Indians' quiet way with animals might calm the herd. When Cabrias returned to the campfire, he did something that would change Harry Yarnell's life forever. Without ceremony or dramatic flourish, he simply held out his hand. In his palm lay half a dozen golden nuggets, the largest about the size of a peanut, all of them gleaming in the firelight with that unmistakable warm luster that every prospector dreams of seeing. In that moment, all of Yarnell's carefully cultivated skepticism vanished. These weren't just stories anymore. These were real nuggets, solid proof of Cabrias's claims. The Indian's next words were simple but filled with promise. "I found these like I tell you." Then he offered to show Yarnell where they came from. The two men walked away from the camp, moving through the growing darkness for about 30 minutes. They finally stopped at the mouth of a small draw, one of countless such gullies that cut through the Oriflam Mountains. In the rainy season, water would rush down this canyon, but now it was dry and barren. Cabrias pointed up the draw and spoke words that would echo through the decades. "It is but a short walk up to the place. The small gold pieces cover the sand. I have heard my people tell of this place many times. There is much gold." Trying to maintain his composure, Yarnell built a small cairn of stones to mark the spot. Nothing too obvious, just enough that he could find it again after completing the cattle drive. As they walked back to camp, Cabrias shared one more piece of information that would later prove significant. He mentioned that another place of much gold existed to the west, over beyond Pine Valley. At the time, Yarnell filed this information away, not knowing how important it would become. But fate, as it often does in tales of lost treasure, had other plans for Harry Yarnell. In El Centro, at the end of the cattle drive, he was offered a job he couldn't refuse, one that would take him north to Riverside. The pay was too good to turn down, but it meant delaying his return to the gold-filled gully. In a moment of weakness, perhaps wanting to share his incredible good fortune, he told another prospector about the cairn in Earthquake Valley. The next morning, that prospector and his burro had vanished into the dawn, leaving Yarnell with a sinking feeling in his stomach. Spring came before Yarnell could return to the valley. The landscape had changed dramatically. Spring thunderstorms had reshaped the terrain, and his carefully placed cairn was nowhere to be found. That night, as he camped in the valley, he witnessed the infamous lights himself. Strange, lambent fireballs racing from ridge to ridge before vanishing into the darkness. Whether they were the ghostly guardians of Native American gold or some natural phenomenon, they added another layer of mystery to his quest. For days, Yarnell crawled through the gullies on his hands and knees, sifting sand between his fingers, searching for any sign of the golden bounty he'd seen in Cabrias's palm. The landscape that had seemed so clear in the firelight that night was now a maze of identical draws and valleys. Every gully looked like it could be the right one, yet none of them yielded even a single flake of gold. The story might have ended there, relegated to the status of just another lost mine tale, but there was one more twist that convinced Yarnell he wasn't chasing a mirage. In the mining town of Banner, where fortunes had been made and lost, he heard about a prospector named George Benton who had just struck it rich. Benton had found a massive boulder shot through with wire gold, worth over $3,000 at the time, a small fortune in 1914. The location of Benton's find? Near Pine Valley, the exact area where Cabrias had mentioned another place of much gold existed. This confirmation of at least part of Cabrias's story convinced Yarnell that the Indian Gully gold was real. Julian Cabrias was never seen again. Like many figures in tales of lost treasure, he simply vanished into history, leaving behind only questions and the memory of those golden nuggets gleaming in the firelight. Some speculated that he had returned to his people, while others wondered if he had met with foul play. A few even suggested that he had been a spirit sent to test Yarnell in some way. Whatever the truth, his disappearance only added to the mystery of the Indian Gully gold. The years rolled by, but Harry Yarnell never gave up his search. Even as an old man, he continued to prospect in the Oriflam Mountains. Every time he saw those strange lights dancing across the ridges, he wondered if this would be the night he'd finally rediscover that dusty, narrow wash and walk up to find golden nuggets scattered across the sand. The mystery consumed him, becoming not just a search for gold, but a quest to prove that one magical night hadn't been a dream. Time brought changes to the region. Modern mines were dug in the area, and yes, some gold was found. George Benton's 1,000-pound boulder of gold-shot rock became well documented in local mining records, but the legendary Indian Gully, with its carpet of golden nuggets, remained hidden. Some said the gold had been buried by landslides or washed away by flash floods. Others believed it was still there, protected by whatever force created those mysterious lights in the night sky. The next time you find yourself in San Diego County, look east toward the Oriflam Mountains. As the sun sets and shadows lengthen across Earthquake Valley, you might catch a glimpse of those mysterious lights dancing across the ridges. And perhaps you'll understand why Harry Yarnell never stopped searching for Julian Cabrias's lost gold. Check out my large Southwest catalog of videos on historical characters, lost gold legends, and adult bedtime stories. Happy trails. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.